Does God really exist? This question has echoed through the ages, from the ancient philosophers of Greece to the great theologians of the Middle Ages, from the Enlightenment thinkers to modern-day scientists and seekers. It is not merely an abstract or intellectual curiosity. It's a question that shapes civilization, inspires personal transformations, and influences every worldview. Today we embark on a comprehensive journey, diving deep into philosophy, science, history, and personal experience to examine the most compelling arguments and evidence for the existence of God. We'll explore the logic of the universe's origin, the stunning precision of natural laws, the basis for morality, the life and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and profound personal testimonies that speak to a transcendent reality. This is not about pushing dogma or dismissing doubt. It's about reasoning together, seeking truth, and asking, is there a mind behind the cosmos? A purpose to our existence? A moral source beyond ourselves? Whether you're a lifelong believer, a curious agnostic, or a committed skeptic, join us for this honest and respectful exploration of the most consequential question of all time. Does God exist? Whether you're a believer, skeptic, or somewhere in between, join us as we unpack these profound truths. The first argument comes from ancient times, but remains deeply influential: the cosmological argument. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. This is a principle rooted in both everyday experience and philosophical reasoning. For instance, a house doesn't appear without builders, and a painting doesn't exist without a painter. The universe, according to modern cosmology, had a beginning, an origin point commonly known as the Big Bang. Before this, time, space, and matter as we know them did not exist. If the universe began to exist, it must have a cause that exists beyond the bounds of time and space. Such a cause would be timeless, immaterial, and immensely powerful, characteristics traditionally associated with God. This line of reasoning, known as the Kalam cosmological argument, continues to be one of the most influential philosophical arguments for the existence of a creator. This cause, timeless and immaterial, outside space and time, sounds remarkably like the traditional concept of God. The fine-tuning argument reveals the astonishing precision of the universe. Physical constants and the fundamental laws of nature appear exquisitely and precisely calibrated to allow for the existence of life. Consider this. If the gravitational constant were even slightly weaker, stars would not form, slightly stronger, and they would burn too quickly for life to evolve. The strong nuclear force, which binds protons and neutrons, is finely tuned. Alter it by even 1%, and the universe would be devoid of complex chemistry. The speed of light, Planck's constant, the cosmological constant, all appear set with remarkable accuracy. These are not vague notions. Physicists have identified over 30 parameters that, if changed ever so slightly, would render the universe hostile to life. Many scientists and philosophers argue that this extraordinary precision is not the product of chance. It suggests intentional calibration, what many would call design. This is the essence of the fine-tuning argument, that the universe's life-permitting conditions are so precise. It is more reasonable to infer a designer than to attribute it to random coincidence or the speculative existence of infinite multiverses. Many scientists and philosophers argue that such precision implies design. Where does our sense of right and wrong come from? If objective moral values exist, truths that are valid and binding whether anyone believes them or not, then they require a source beyond humanity. Across all times and cultures, we find remarkable agreement on certain moral principles: that murder is wrong, that love and kindness are good, that justice should be upheld. While cultures may differ in customs or laws, these underlying moral intuitions persist. They seem to point to something deeper than social consensus, something universal and transcendent. If morality is truly objective, it cannot be grounded merely in evolution, biology, or personal preference. These values would need to stem from a moral lawgiver, one who is the ultimate standard of goodness. This is the heart of the moral argument. Just as laws point to a lawmaker, moral laws point to a moral lawgiver, God. Without such a being, objective morality becomes difficult, if not impossible, to justify. But if God exists, the foundation for right and wrong becomes not only understandable but essential. Could God have revealed himself in history? The historical life, death and resurrection of Jesus Christ remains one of the most rigorously examined and hotly debated events in all of human history. Numerous non-Christian sources from the 1st and 2nd centuries, such as the Roman historians Tacitus and Suetonius, the Jewish historian Josephus, and various early Christian writings, affirm Jesus' existence as a real figure. The crucifixion of Jesus under the Roman governor Pontius Pilate is one of the best attested facts in ancient history. Furthermore, the rapid rise of Christianity in the face of intense persecution suggests that the earliest followers of Jesus genuinely believed not only in his teachings, but in his resurrection. These early Christians were willing to endure torture and death rather than recant their claims, which many scholars argue is strong circumstantial evidence that something extraordinary occurred. The resurrection event in particular has been the subject of intense scholarly scrutiny. Arguments for its historicity include the empty tomb, post-crucifixion appearances, and the sudden transformation of the disciples. Even skeptical scholars agree that the disciples at least believed they had seen the risen Christ, raising the profound question: what caused that belief? If Jesus did rise from the dead, then the most reasonable explanation is divine intervention, offering not just historical but theological proof that God revealed himself in history. Even secular historians agree Jesus existed. Roman historian Tacitus, writing around 116 AD in his Annals, Book 15, Chapter 44, confirmed that Christus suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of Pontius Pilatus. Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, in Antiquities of the Jews, Book 18, Chapter 3, refers to Jesus as a wise man and doer of wonderful works, and acknowledges his crucifixion and continued influence. The Talmud, Sanhedrin 43a, also references the execution of Jesus. These independent sources, though not Christian, corroborate key elements of the gospel narratives. Furthermore, early Christian writings, such as those of Clement of Rome and Ignatius of Antioch, attest to the disciples' unwavering belief in Jesus' resurrection. These men did not die for a metaphor. They died for a claim they firmly believed to be true: that Jesus rose bodily from the dead, proving his divinity and God's intervention in history. Beyond arguments, millions of people claim a personal relationship with God, from miraculous healings to deep inner transformation. These experiences, though personal and often subjective, demand our attention. Around the world, across centuries, people have described supernatural interventions, recoveries from terminal illness with no medical explanation, encounters with a divine presence, or unshakable peace in the face of tragedy. For instance, in Lourdes, France, the Catholic Church has verified dozens of cases of spontaneous, medically inexplicable healing following prayer. Similarly, stories abound from places like China, Africa, and Latin America, where entire communities report visions, dreams, or miracles linked to a divine encounter. These testimonies span cultures and worldviews, yet share striking similarities: profound moral transformation, sudden deliverance from addiction or despair, or a newfound sense of purpose and hope. Psychologists often note that such deeply transformative experiences can radically redirect a person's life trajectory. While they may not serve as empirical proof in the scientific sense, the sheer volume and consistency of these accounts form a cumulative case that cannot be ignored. When considered together, they offer a compelling existential and experiential argument for the presence of a personal God, who is actively involved in human lives. What about evil? What about science? This chapter responds to major objections that are often raised against belief in God. Among the most significant is the problem of evil. If God is all good and all-powerful, why does suffering exist? Philosophers and theologians have long tackled this issue. The free will defense argues that genuine freedom requires the possibility of choosing evil. Without free will, love and morality would be meaningless. Another perspective, the soul-making theodicy, suggests that hardship and suffering can develop virtues like courage, patience, devotion, and compassion, shaping us into stronger moral beings. Then there's the perceived conflict between science and religion. Yet many prominent scientists throughout history were devout believers. Isaac Newton, Johannes Kepler, and Gregor Mendel, to name a few. Isaac Newton once wrote in his work Optics in the year 1704, "This most beautiful system of the sun, planets and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being." Newton saw scientific discovery as a way to uncover the divine order established by God. Johannes Kepler, who formulated the laws of planetary motion, expressed similar sentiments. He wrote, "The chief aim of all investigations of the external world should be to discover the rational order and harmony which has been imposed on it by God and which he revealed to us in the language of mathematics." Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics and an Augustinian monk, conducted his groundbreaking pea plant experiments in the belief that discovering natural laws was a way of glorifying God's design. His faith was not separate from his science. It was the foundation that inspired his inquiry. Modern science emerged in cultures influenced by Christian assumptions about an orderly universe governed by laws discoverable by reason. Today, many leading physicists, biologists, and cosmologists still maintain religious faith. For example, Francis Collins, former director of the National Human Genome Research Project and a respected gene scientist, wrote in his book The Language of God, the God of the Bible is also the God of the genome. He can be worshipped in the cathedral or in the laboratory. These examples show that science explains the how of the universe, while religion seeks to answer the why. Far from being in conflict, faith and science together reveal a more complete picture of reality. Lastly, what about morality without God? While many people do good without believing in God, the deeper question is whether goodness itself and other objective moral values and duties can exist without a transcendent source. Without God, morality risks being reduced to personal preference or social convention. But if moral truths exist, as most people intuitively sense, they point toward a moral lawgiver, God. Each of these objections deserves thoughtful engagement. And when we take a closer look, we find that not only can faith and reason coexist, they enrich and support one another. The problem of evil, science versus religion, can't we be good without God? We explore these honest questions with reason and compassion. Back to our question, does God exist? While no single proof removes all doubt, the arguments in this video do form a powerful, reasonable foundation for belief that God exists. Whether you find yourself convinced or still questioning, we invite you to keep seeking. The journey to truth is the most important one you'll ever take. Like, comment, and subscribe to explore more on faith, reason, and the mysteries of existence. Thanks for watching.